Hey, everybody, welcome back live at Drew's house, another edition. Hope everybody is doing well. And well, we're about to start a new regime here a little bit. A first-time guest on the show, Mayor-Elect of Newburyport, Sean Reardon, joins us. That must sound pretty good, huh?
I'm getting used to it, Drew. Yes, it does sound good.
Well, it's nice to meet you here, albeit virtually. I look forward to seeing you in the studio here as we go along as well. But congratulations. Take me through the emotions of voting day the other day, and I don't know, when did you know it was going to happen?
Yeah, it's been just an amazing couple of days. I came out in December, so this has been 11 months of just picking up another full-time job, campaigning. So I felt, since the primary, I would say we've just been building so much momentum and just, being out and meeting with voters every day, whether it be meet and greets or knocking on doors or, going to my kids' soccer game or wherever we were. It was just the energy and the feeling was just so positive. So I knew we were doing what we needed to do. I knew we were reaching the people we needed to reach. And, coming to a head on election day, just, visiting all the polling places, all the, people honking their horns and giving me the thumbs up and, waking up with my dad and grabbing the signs and bringing them all the polling places at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then, walking in the Port Tavern around 7:45, 15 minutes before polls closed, and just the amount of people, we filled that place and just the, I don't know, we just had a good feeling. So, from the get-go, I knew if people came out and voted, and that's what all elections are, right? Is getting people out to vote and getting them engaged. But if I knew if we could get people out, I had a really good chance. And I said just enough people came out. Winning by 30 votes is razor thin, but it still feels great.
And what's it like being a part of those races? Because I mean, you have the polls leading up to it. Maybe it's going to be close. Whatever the case may be. But I mean, this one genuinely was as close as it gets. I mean, you don't know until the very end. What are those emotions like as you're running through that day?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. This was such a team effort. I just had so many wonderful volunteers and, my inner team. And then my family was such a big part of this. My wife really jumped in, particularly the last 10 weeks, working, incredibly hard in the campaign along with my parents and my in-laws and brother and uncles and aunts. And then all my volunteers and my other team members. Just it was just such a collective effort. And when it's a election that's decided by only a few votes, you realize that every little thing someone did for you in this election, whether it be making a phone call or hosting a meet and greet or anything. I mean, every little thing had there was an impact there. And so, again, when you're talking about such a few number of votes that decided, you're just very grateful. And, my big thing at the end, the primary, I was disappointed with the turnout. It was low 20% turnout, and I was disappointed because I talked to so many people who were supporting me that just didn't go vote that day. They were like, "Oh, you're going to be one of the top two." I didn't even bother going. And I was like, "No, you can't do that. It's so important." So, I mean, it was just what we needed because it really kicked us into high gear. And I wanted to walk in the Port Tavern the other night. I just wanted to feel like I did absolutely everything I could have done and just be happy with whatever the result was. And I felt like again, to invoke a sports metaphor, I wanted to feel like I left it all on the field. And I definitely felt that way. So as the results were coming in, I was like, oh, wow, I got a shot. A couple wards I knew I needed to do well in. And, it came down to, I think Ward 3 was the last ward we found out. And it was just crazy. And so I originally found out I had only won by 22, which is my birthday. April 22nd is my birthday. So I was like, oh, that might be a lucky coincidence. But, again, just the amount of love and support and just positive energy that we had there that night. I mean, it's funny, my wife and I have been trying to go through pictures of the night, but there just aren't that many because I think everyone was just so emotional and excited that it was just a moment. I know my 3 kids were there. They'll never forget that their whole lives. I mean, it was so special to me. And it was such a good lesson for them too. It was hard work pays off because they saw how hard I worked during this campaign. And it also taught them that every vote counts. Every vote matters. And I love that. And there was a lot of kids there that night. I loved kind of sitting with them after, we all had calmed down and talking about that with some of the young kids there. It was pretty cool.
Did you get a moment to kind of sit down yourself and just take a deep breath and go, wow, okay, I did this. Has that even hit you yet? Or
You know what, I would say yesterday and today that it's been a little, I still haven't slept. I haven't slept in 10 months. I mean, I thought after this I'd be finally this relief and I'd be able to sleep, but I just haven't been able to. But it's been great. A lot of people reaching out, a lot of well wishes. I mean, I've heard from, people I never thought I'd even get to meet in my life, just like, different politicians and, in Massachusetts and around the area. But
Oh,
yeah,
like
no,
who
it's been great.
who gave you a good well wish?
Elizabeth Warren called me on election night. Lieutenant Governor Polito texted me yesterday. Things like that. The mayor of Haverhill called me. I talked to the mayor of Amesbury. So yeah, it's been nice hearing from people who I don't have relationships with yet, but I'm looking forward to working with.
Haverhill, James Ferrantini, he's 10 terms? You got 10 terms in you here?
We'll see. Let's get through year one, I guess. But no, I'm excited. Again, growing up here, this is just, again, that was another like kind of added layer to all of this is just, being a kid from Newburyport, everyone knows 5th generation, my parents, grandparents, we all grew up here, and it just made it that much more special. I mean, I love this town so much. I just always knew I was going to do this. I didn't know when I was going to do it in my life, but I'm so glad I jumped on that this year. And you're kind of giving up like a year of your life to kind of pursue this dream. And God, it was just such an amazing feeling that to feel like all that hard work paid off and like this is actually going to happen. So.
All right. So Mayor-Elect Sean Reardon, I think a lot of people know you already, certainly the ones who supported you. And I think a lot of those who don't know you are going to get to know you very quickly. But give me like a quick Spark Notes version in a nutshell, a little bit of the background, what you want people to know and how you got here.
Sure. Just, Newburyport, born and raised. I graduated from Newburyport High School. My wife is also from Newburyport. We're raising our 3 kids here, Sadie, Ruby, and Oliver. I've been involved in education most of my life. I come from a family of teachers and firefighters, but I started as a teacher. I got into educational publishing and sales the past 16 years. And then, once we started raising our kids here in Newburyport, I got involved in public service. I served on the Parks Commission. I helped get new schools built here in Newburyport. I helped get our high school stadium renovated. And then I got on the school committee. I've been on the school committee the past 4 years and just always knew I was going to take this next step and run for mayor. Just heavily involved with my community, just a real love for Newburyport and just a real desire to really work with all the different voices in town, bring them around the table and see how we can make Newburyport even better.
Well, we might as well throw some issues. You're well versed at handling some of these things already, right? Let's start with teachers. I'm married to a teacher. I am under the impression that overall in this country, not necessarily Newburyport, although maybe you differ, but in the country, we don't treat our teachers well enough. I'm not sure we give them the resources enough to do the job. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's tough. I mean, like I said, I that's one of the reasons why I ran for school committee. I do have a background in education. I work for a publishing company, so I work with schools all over Massachusetts, actually all over the country for K-12 and really anything having to do with schools. And then, being the son of a teacher and then working for the Newburyport and Triton Public Schools in my early career. I think teachers have it tough and they don't always get the support. And I think especially coming out of the pandemic, from where we started and where we finished, I think there is a newfound appreciation to all the work that and the mental and physical toll teaching can have on people. So I do think that's the case, but I mean, I think here in Newburyport, I do think we're really lucky. We have a wonderful school system. I think we're trending in the right direction. I think we have a great leader in Superintendent Gallagher. So, as mayor, I'm now the chair of the school committee, which is, it's great. I'm still involved with that because I really enjoy that work and I think it's important. So I'm hoping to continue to be an advocate for our schools and for our teachers.
How do you feel about the downtown Newburyport is such a beautiful place. I mean, tourists travel there just to walk through.
Sure.
A big walking city. We have a lot of musicians on this show that will come on, and there's been a complaint. I've never really been able to even pin down who the complaint is towards. It's just kind of like, I wish there were more places to play. I wish they would be more open. Like, we go up to New Hampshire all the time. We're playing all these communities in New Hampshire, but I'd love to play in my hometown of Newburyport, but it doesn't seem to be that receptive to it. Just generally, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard that, but I mean, I'm such a fan of live music. So, I mean, and I do think COVID has had something to do with that, like getting that back on track. I've worked at a lot of our restaurants in town growing up as a second and third job sometimes. So, I always loved when I worked in places because it just brings such energy and, especially, especially through the summer months when you can have windows open and you can walk by and hear all the different venues. So I do think, hopefully we can get back to that a little bit more. I mean, one of the things I really like to bring to the mayor's office is I'd like to create a position for like kind of a business culture and arts director for City Hall to work with some of these opportunities to, whether it be music, whether it be arts, whether it be theater, really, cultivating that interest in town. I mean, that brings so much money into the city. I think it's like over $3 million a year that the arts bring into Newburyport. So no, it's going to be a big focus because I think it's just, again, you're right. You think about the places you go for music, and you usually think of Portsmouth and Portland and some of these other places. But there's no reason why Newburyport can't be that. So, it's something we're gonna have to work on. I know you're friends with Alex Anthony, so we got to get Alex out as much as possible.
I am a big fan, yeah.
He does a good job.
Although he'll play anywhere, so that man he puts more miles on his car than anyone, I think.
That's right.
And you mentioned COVID. I do think that, just look at some of the bigger places that are specifically designed for music and shows. The Firehouse, a big venue like that in Newburyport. There are a lot of places like that are probably going to need some help here from the community as they try to rebound. I mean, they've been shut down here throughout the pandemic.
Yep. And they're slowly coming back. I think we're getting there, but absolutely they need the support of City Hall. And, that's why, creating some of these positions and just being more proactive about working with our restaurants. I think like the parklets that they did for the restaurants outside on State Street and Pleasant Street, we're going to look to make that a permanent fixture here in Newburyport, not just not just a reactive thing to COVID, but something that we can maybe even improve upon and do more of things like that.
I've heard you answer this question before in other interviews. You handled it gracefully. I think every community around the country is having the talks about diversity and are we doing enough? Are we welcoming enough? Are we alert to this? Are we teaching enough here? We had the protests all across the country, whether it be Boston, Black Lives Matter, after some unfortunate situations that cost Black men their lives. What's your take on diversity, which is obviously a mostly white community? What is your take on the diversity in Newburyport?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we have to continue to work on. I think, sometimes those are difficult conversations to have in communities, but you have to be willing to have them. Luckily, I bring a little bit of a background in this. In my work with schools, I did a lot of work around equity with some of the urban districts in Massachusetts. And so I know on the school level, we've really tried the last couple of years to bring in some different training and have some different conversations. So I think on the city level too, that we should be able to do this. Mayor Holliday formed the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, the DEI Alliance, and they've been really great. I've had some meetings with them, so I'm looking forward to continue that work. But it's important work, and I do think it needs to start at the top with the mayor. And I think if you're consistent with your messaging and the positive that inclusive message, I think that has to reverberate throughout your administration, and then through the city when you do that. When you look at how we're hiring here in Newburyport as well. I mean, I think, again, we're a mostly white community and we hire that way as well. So, I mean, I'd like to look at that at a city level too, and just look at how we're doing some of our hiring in town and see if there's ways we can improve upon that.
You mentioned Mayor Donna Holliday there. This is a longtime mayor that you come in after. That is not always the easiest thing to do. It's not always the easiest thing to be the next person after a long time mayor, just because people get used to a certain way of doing things and then suddenly there's a change. And how has that transition been? I know you're right in the middle of it as we speak, but
it's pretty early.
Yeah, but have you had conversations with her, productive ones? How's that all gone?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I think we're going to have a nice smooth transition. I've worked with Mayor Holliday for years. She's had a very, I would say, successful 12 years. But I think in any organization, I think that was one of the reasons why I decided to run. It's good to have different ideas and different approaches and a fresh perspective come in as well. So I'm looking forward to working with her closely over the next 7 weeks as we work through this transition. So we can really hit the ground running come January 3rd.
Is it one of those things where I assume, why don't you tell me, what is is there one big difference between you and Mayor Holliday that you think maybe not that you were running against Mayor Holliday, but is there something that you really tried to emphasize on the campaign trail that if you elect me, this will be a change that you feel?
I mean, I don't know if there's one thing. I mean, I just think people have different leadership styles, and I think people bring different skills to the table. So I just think I'm going to have a much more collaborative approach to how I approach city government. I talked a lot in my campaign about having a process, being transparent, and really having great communication. And I kind of did that with my campaign. I mean, if you looked at both campaigns, I was really consistently putting out a lot of information out there around a variety of issues because I wanted to be transparent. I wanted people to know exactly where I stood. So I want to bring some of that to City Hall because I think in public organizations you have to be transparent. You have to have the public involved, and if they have questions or are looking for information, it has to be available to them. So things like having open office hours or having an open door policy, I just don't think. I don't think that was Mayor Holliday's style, and that's something I'd like to try and bring in because I do want people to feel heard. And we have a lot of talent and expertise here in town, and every idea should be heard. So I'm looking forward to kind of instituting that and just seeing what kind of great things we can do.
Obviously, the whole world is trying to come out of this, still trying, but is coming out of this pandemic. Do you see any major roadblocks, obstacles, maybe just things that you're going to have to adjust with on the fly in a post-COVID Newburyport?
Yeah, I don't see it right now. I mean, again, and that's one of the things I'll applaud Mayor Holliday for, getting us through the pandemic and setting up some of these systems that are now in place to kind of navigate this post-COVID world. But I don't see anything offhand. I think we're lucky here in Newburyport. Our infection rates never got too high. I think the schools handled it. We were able to have some sort of in-person learning throughout the entire pandemic, and I know there's only a handful of districts, in Massachusetts that were able to do that. So just going forward, we're gonna have to monitor and again, just having clear communication and procedures in place. And so luckily, I think we have a lot of those in place right now.
Sometimes as mayor, you take over a region that just geography-wise puts problems on your plate. I give you Plum Island. You have a issue there with a disappearing Plum Island.
Yes.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, Plum Island was, again, especially this past week has been a huge issue. And, again, right when I declared for mayor, I was lucky enough to go out there with the Ward 1 counselor and meet the neighbors right away up in Reservation Terrace. So, I'm happy to report today that they're already constructing the stone wall up by 75th Street on Reservation Terrace. That process is still going on today. They ended up going with a hybrid approach. So you're going to have a stone wall and then some of those coir bags that they were also talking about. The biggest thing about Plum Island, and again, this was another kind of theme as I was going door to door, but they just want to feel like part of Newburyport because a lot of people dismiss them a lot of times, and it's such an important community. And what people don't realize is just the fact that Plum Island's there is saving Newburyport from climate change, right? I mean, it's protecting, being at the mouth of the river, it's protecting, the downtown from the effects of storm surge and climate change. So, and what's happening out there with the beach disappearing, that was from a human intervention with the Army Corps of Engineers, redoing the jetty so many years ago. That wasn't climate change. That was doing the jetty over and not letting sand to pass through. And all of a sudden, again, this happened years before. So it's just repeating the same cycle. So, again, the residents there, this is of no fault of their own. And so as mayor, I've promised to be there for those residents. That's an area that has so many different entities involved. It's, it's the state, federal, Army Corps of Engineers, it's the residents, it's the, Conservation Commission. So as mayor, you have to be a leader. You have to advocate for those residents. And I was so happy to see, unfortunately we got to this point that it was an emergency and we finally got approval to start this wall. But it shouldn't have got there. This was, we did a lot of Band-Aids for a long time and it took us to get to this emergency place. But, yeah, and they came out for me on election day too. So I'm very indebted to Plum Island. That's a passionate community, and again, they just want to feel like that their tax dollars are being appreciated, as well as just being a part of the community, with the mainlanders.
Well said. Again, Newburyport Mayor-Elect Sean Reardon joining us. Mayor, that is my dog Mookie, I believe. It's one of my two crazy dogs, which Life from Home here has presented. Well, they're part of the show. That's how it works.
That's right.
People seem to like dogs, so it hasn't derailed things too much. Some days they're better than others. What is number one on your list here? What is the first thing you want to do that's been nagging at you for the last year? What is the first thing you want to do when you get into that seat?
Well, the first thing for sure is, getting to know your department heads, creating the best team, and then, how we're going to approach some of the things that we want to do. Hiring a great chief of staff is number one on my list, but that's what I'll be working on in the coming weeks. But right away, I've talked about it from day one, is one of those priorities that we've kind of let slide the last couple of years, last 10 years, I would say, is, streets and sidewalks and infrastructure here in town. So I want to get a transparent plan in place that we're going to actually move forward, so residents actually know, when their street will get done. I know we can do that. I've talked to, the departments, the DPS, and how we can really set that up for success for years to come, because we just haven't put we haven't invested in it. So that's something, it's a quality of life issue to residents. So I'm going to do that. And secondly is just, Newburyport Youth Services. That came up towards the end of the election. They were, looking for a home for years. They couldn't find a permanent home. They were working out of the Brown School for 7 years, and the boiler finally kicked, so no heat. So now they're homeless, and they're working out of the senior center right now. So again, we should have had a plan in place for them. It's such an important organization and department in town. They do so many good things for families here in Newburyport and for the children of Newburyport. So again, we need a short-term solution because we still don't have one, and hopefully we have one before I'm in office. But if not, that'll probably be the first thing I do. And then number two, work on that long-term solution to get them a proper building.
Was there something you were surprised by, that when you talked to voters, when you shook their hands, maybe you weren't aware of the problem or whatever, but was there something that voters kept coming to you saying, you need to address this, you need to address this, this will win our vote if this is addressed?
That's funny. Yeah, no, I don't think I was surprised so much, but it was funny because I came out so early, and I really didn't start knocking on, we did events for the first few months, but then I really started knocking on doors in April, which is funny, knocking on someone's door and say, hey, will you vote for me in November? Because, there's so much time in between there. But, at the beginning of the campaign, I would say consistently streets and sidewalks is the number one issue you'll hear at the door. I would say every other door, but, that number two issue, kind of floated around to a couple different things. And I would say like the last few months, or for sure, has been Waterfront West was a big issue for residents, after that Boston Magazine article came out in particular. And then more recently was youth services, and kind of the history, behind that, and why didn't we have a plan in place, and why did we wait until too long to find them a proper home. So I would say those things. It was shifted. And then early in the campaign, zoning, as different parts of town, depending on where you were, zoning was a big issue, or affordable housing was a big issue. So, you kind of heard all the same issues, but they definitely were different on different, numbers on the scale, depending on where you were.
So you go, you're a young man, obviously, but don't have all these political years under you as far as you're a newcomer in that regard. You've been on the school committee and everything, but this is kind of a different ball game when you start talking about the mayoral seat. Did that make you more appealing, do you think? Because I get the impression that when you were meeting people, this is a new face with completely new ideas. I could see that being appealing. Did you know that you were getting through to voters in that way?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just think people were ready. I mean, again, I think anytime you have a leader in place for 12 years, I think people sometimes are really thirsty for a new approach and energy, and, a new perspective, and, someone who wants to, bring people to the table, and make sure people are heard, and are talking about things like building consensus, and, tackling some of these issues that just haven't been hit the last few years as well. Not having a different priority list, I guess I would say too. So yeah, no, I think people fed off my energy. I mean, they could tell I wanted it. Again, at being a kid from Newburyport, and someone who's always thought about this, and hitting the pavement every day. It's amazing how many people are just so appreciative that you knocked on their door and that you were willing to do this. Because I mean, I have a career right now. I've been doing it for 16 years, and this is a career change. When COVID hit, I went back to school for my master's in public administration, which I'm soon to finish. But I did it just because I knew I wanted to do this someday. I didn't know when, and then we started having conversations about a year ago. Right now, it was in November, and just some people reached out, asked if I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I kind of am, but we'll have to see what happens. And then by Christmas, it was a go. So it's been quite a ride.
Everybody who jumps into this, I know this all too well. Everybody who makes a run like this, it's not just you. It's family. It's a lot
Absolutely.
of sacrifices. You want to give a little shout out there?
Yeah, I mean, again, I talked about my team a little bit at the beginning, but in particular, my family had a sign on to this together. And it was a big family conversation when I decided to take this on. And, I have three pretty young kids, 13, 12 and 9. So they kind of got it, but, I don't think we all knew what we were getting into when we signed on, I would say in December. But, again, my wife really was a huge part of the campaign, just really, got us to the finish line. And, again, my parents, in-laws, aunts, uncles, cousins, my brother lives in Amesbury. He was very involved. I have a sister that lives in Idaho. She was very involved. So it was a massive effort, and family was just a huge part of it. So it made it all that more special.
I'm sure we'll be seeing your kids along the way. You're not making them call you mayor-elect yet, are you?
Nope, not yet. Actually, I heard Dad Mayor yesterday, but and then someone called me Ruby's. So my middle child is Ruby. It was like Ruby's Dad Mayor or something. I was like, okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, very fun. Well, it's pretty cool. They must be excited about it all too. It must make it extra special going through it all with them, though. I mean, you talked about.
Oh, absolutely.
It must be.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, just special. I mean, again, I don't, like you said, you asked if it hit me earlier. It's just been, you're on such a high, it was just such an amazing moment. And just to know you worked so hard for it, and that there were so many people involved, and like, I think of all the friends I made during this, or the people like, I was friendly with, but, just became family after this, and just people who were willing to put their neck out for me and just do whatever it took, make that extra phone call, send that extra email to somebody to try to switch them to Team Reardon. There was just a lot of those, and just a lot of stories I've already heard about people who voted one way at the primary and changed their mind and switched the other way, or that person that like missed their train but still got home by like 7:56 to walk into their polling place and cast a vote. I mean, 30 votes. I mean, that's every one of those votes mattered. So just great.
You're all smiles right now. I'm waiting for that first snowstorm when people don't out there.
Yep. Nope. I know that the honeymoon period will be quick, I'm sure.
I'm just kidding. We'll do fine. But where are the plows? Where are the plows? And actually, on a serious note, what you grew up here? Any specific concerns to winter as the weather has turned here a little bit? Anything you'd like to tackle that may be winter specific or not really?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think everyone's gonna have an opinion about how we do things here in Newbury. I mean, I think the DPS works extremely hard with the resources they have. So as mayor, I just want to support them as best I can. Again, we're all on the same team, so I want to support them. And again, I hope we have a mild winter. I think the last couple have been pretty mild. So just I'll keep my fingers crossed. But I think we'll all be willing to pitch in and help them out as best they can.
I can see the viewers cringing as I mentioned winter here. As I still got the Halloween bin behind me for one more show. Okay,
that's right.
Mayor-elect, this is what we do. We always end the show with a rapid fire, especially when it's a first time guest on.
Okay.
Random questions you're supposed to answer with the first thing that comes to mind. All right.
Yep.
We'll start simple just to get it going. Favorite food?
Spaghetti.
Favorite city in the world other than Newburyport?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. I would say Columbus, Ohio.
All right. Any reason why? Follow up.
That's right. That's where I went to school.
Okay.
I went to Ohio State, so it's home away from home.
Buckeyes fan, are you?
I am. I'm a Buckeye. Yep.
All right. Very good. So nobody in Michigan will. You didn't win any Michigan votes. Very good.
I didn't. Nope.
Very good. Favorite sport?
Basketball.
Basketball. All right. Good basketball teams in Newburyport.
Yep. I'm a huge all sports fan, but I mean, I still enjoy like shooting basketballs with my kids, and it's just one of my favorite things to do.
It is the best workout. It certainly is true. Favorite musician?
Ooh. Wow. Favorite musician. God, I love so much music. I'll do a fun one just for my tavern folks, but we like to put on REO Speedwagon radio and jam out to the 80s down there. So I'll say that.
Believe it or not, REO is not. We have a lot of young people on this show, but not the first time REO Speedwagon has been. Favorite movie?
I'm a Star Wars guy all the way, but I'm a big movie guy. But Star Wars is awesome.
Star Wars, all right, very good.
Yep.
Favorite? What was the best go-to pandemic hobby?
Oh, well, I mean, I would say TV just in general. So getting through all of Schitt's Creek probably was the thing I'll take from the pandemic, I guess.
Funny show, right?
Yep, great.
Favorite venue in the world, whether it be concerts, ballparks, anything, you choose it. What's your favorite place to visit?
Without question, Ohio Stadium. If it's Ohio State Michigan game, there's just nothing like it in the whole world.
That hasn't happened yet this year, right?
No, it's the weekend after Thanksgiving. I actually have tickets to the Michigan State game, so I just made the decision last night that I'm going to go out for the game. I wasn't sure I was going to see how the campaign went, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go. So it should be a big game.
A little mayor-elect time. I like that.
That's right. That's right.
And the final couple, let's do who's your political hero? Was there somebody that really inspired you? Like, you know what, I want to get into politics after seeing.
Wow. Yeah. It's going to sound weird, but I was always a Ted Kennedy, guy growing up. He came to Newburyport a few times as a kid, and I don't know. I always just thought he was awesome. I could listen to that guy speak all day. I thought Ted was great. Locally, I said, I grew up a couple houses down from Mayor Sullivan, who was the mayor when my grandfather was fire chief, and all his kids babysat me growing up. So just as a little kid, and if someone I knew from when I was probably 4 or 5 years old that I wanted to be mayor, it was because I was looking up at Dick Sullivan run our city. So.
Gotcha. And who's the hero?
Hero, my dad. He's awesome.
He was literally helping you on the campaign trail, huh?
Hey, he just walked by my window. He's out help picking up my signs right now. But they were very involved. That guy, he was a teacher for 40 years. He's just had an impact of so many kids here in town. And I was by his hip my whole life, whether it be going to basketball practice or going to his classroom. And when I graduated school, I was teaching in classrooms next to him. And he's just an incredible guy. I'm very lucky.
Nice. All right. And last one, best career advice you ever got?
Run for mayor. And it was a good friend. And we had about a 2-hour conversation that day, about a year ago from right now. And I told him the other night when the results came in, I gave him a big hug and I was like, this is all you, man. I wouldn't have done this if you didn't tell me to do it and convince me to do it. I knew I'd do this someday, but I didn't know it'd be this year. And here we are.
Are we name dropping this friend, or does he not want that?
Oh no, I'll keep it for myself, but it was a good friend, but just a special guy.
Awesome. Very good. Well, Mayor-Elect Sean Reardon, this was a pleasure. We'll obviously be doing this again because, it's just something we do here. We talk to the mayor, and that's going to be you pretty soon. So
I would love that, Drew. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for taking some time. And for God's sakes, go help your dad pick up the signs, will you?
Work never stops. Thanks, Drew. I appreciate it.
Congratulations in all seriousness.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Pretty cool. The mayor-elect of Newburyport, Sean Reardon. You have put him into that seat, and less than 2 months, there he is, taking over for the outgoing mayor, Donna Holliday. So you'll get to hear a lot of Sean Reardon on this show as we go along. Mayor Donna Holliday has always been great with giving us her time, and here we go. In the first week, we have the mayor-elect. So that's a good start as well. Seems like a good guy, and obviously loves Newburyport. So that is an excellent start, right? I hope everybody is doing well out there. November, here we are, man. Thanksgiving will be here before we know it, and life is just flying by, right? I'm still here in my kitchen, though. One of these days, we'll get one of these shows going on back in the studio here. I would like to try to get some music shows, especially back in the studio, because I know a lot of you like those. So it's coming. It's coming. But for now, live at Drew's house, another edition. Peace.